Solana doesn't just go up, it explodes. It's one of those assets where the chart doesn't look real when it's running. A week ago, it was undervalued. Today, it's inevitable. And tomorrow, you don't know. Because Solana also has a habit of humbling people. That's what makes Sol different. It's not just price volatility, it's speed, it's activity. It's the fact that you can create 100 taxable moments before lunch without even realizing it. And that's where the real story begins. Because for most people, the dream looks like this. Buy Sol early, ride the cycle, cash out the win, walk away. But when you finally sell, the IRS steps into the room and reminds you that profit and after-tax profit are not the same thing. You sell a chunk, feel like a genius, and then your accountant emails you a number that doesn't feel real. Meanwhile, you watch wealthy investors and funds moving in and out of Solana's ecosystem with what looks like way less tax pain. They're swapping tokens, providing liquidity, taking profits, bridging assets, and somehow they don't look panicked. So what are they doing? First, a hard truth. In the US, the idea that you can sell crypto without paying taxes is mostly a misunderstanding. The IRS treats crypto as property. That means selling Sol for dollars is taxable. Trading Sol for another token is taxable. Using Sol to buy anything is taxable. Even some actions that feel like just moving money around can create taxable outcomes depending on what actually happened under the hood. And with Solana, the biggest danger isn't the sale, it's the activity. Solana makes it easy to be constantly doing something, staking, swapping, farming, minting, bridging, spinning up wallets and hunting for yield. The chain is so fast and the fees are so low that you can rack up hundreds of transactions almost accidentally. And every one of those can create a tax footprint. So wealthy Solana investors don't start with, how do I sell without taxes? They start with something more important. How do I structure my Solana exposure so I'm not forced into taxable mistakes? The first strategy is the oldest trick in modern wealth, and it has nothing to do with crypto. They sell without selling. They borrow. If you own a large amount of Sol and it's appreciated massively, selling it triggers a capital gain. That's the IRS moment. But borrowing against it doesn't. A loan is not income. You still own the Sol. You're simply using the asset as collateral to access liquidity. Now, with Solana, this has a specific twist. Because Sol can move violently, borrowing needs to be conservative. Over-leverage is how people get liquidated at the bottom and trigger the worst sale of their lives. Wealthy investors don't borrow aggressively. They borrow carefully. They treat it like a bridge, not a lifestyle. This is one reason you'll see wealthy holders talk about liquidity instead of taking profits. They're not always exiting. They're extracting utility without triggering the tax event.
The second strategy is patience, but with a sharper edge. Holding period matters. If you held SOL for less than a year, your gains are generally taxed at ordinary income rates. That's the expensive tax bracket. Hold it for more than a year, and you generally move into long-term capital gains territory. For a small trade, this feels like trivia. For a multi-six-figure gain, it can feel like the difference between keeping your win and donating a huge portion of it to timing. Wealthy investors build calendars around this. They don't just ask, is SOL up? They ask, is it long-term yet? And they plan their selling window accordingly. But Solana adds a third layer that Bitcoin doesn't: staking. Solana has a culture of staking. It's normal, it's encouraged, it's part of the identity, and that creates unique tax problems for casual investors. Staking rewards are generally treated like income when received, based on the value at the time you receive them. That means you can owe tax even if you never sold anything. This is where wealthy investors separate themselves from everyone else. They track it precisely. They understand the value at receipt, they document it, they use software, they reconcile wallets, they keep records so that a future audit doesn't become a disaster. And more importantly, they don't let staking activity turn into tax chaos. They consolidate, they simplify, they avoid unnecessary on-chain noise. Because on Solana, it's easy to confuse movement with progress. The fourth strategy is where most people watching from the outside start thinking, wait, how is that legal? Charity. If you already give, selling appreciated SOL first is often the most tax-inefficient move you can make. You sell, trigger capital gains, then donate cash. You get a deduction, but you already paid the price. Wealthy donors often reverse the sequence. They donate the appreciated asset, the SOL itself, to a qualified charity or donor-advised fund. In many cases, that allows them to avoid realizing the capital gain entirely, while still receiving a deduction based on fair market value. The charity sells tax-free. The donor avoids the big gain on their personal return. That's not a loophole. That's the tax code doing exactly what it was written to do: reward direct giving of appreciated property.
Then there's the long game strategy that feels like cheating, even though it's just policy. Holding until death. If you hold appreciated assets and pass them to heirs, the cost basis is generally stepped up to the market value at death. That means years of Solana appreciation can disappear for capital gains purposes. No sale, no realized gain, no tax bill on the growth. This is why wealthy families don't think in cycles. They think in decades. And when you watch them hold through volatility that would terrify most people, it's often because they aren't planning to sell the way you are. But even wealthy investors sell sometimes. So how do they reduce the damage when they do? They offset gains. Tax loss harvesting is one of the least glamorous, most powerful tools in investing. When part of the portfolio is down, they sell losses strategically to offset gains. They don't just hope their losers recover. They use losers as shields. Crypto has historically offered additional flexibility here compared to stocks because wash sale rules have not always applied the same way to crypto transactions. The landscape can change, and it's an area where professional guidance matters. But the principle remains: losses can soften or erase the tax impact of gains. And Solana, with its ecosystem of tokens that can swing wildly, often creates plenty of losses somewhere in the mix. Wealthy investors track them like ammunition. Another under-discussed move is controlling where the gain shows up. Not just which wallet, which state. State taxes matter. If you live in a high-tax state and you realize a massive SOL gain, you might owe state income tax on top of federal. Some wealthy investors relocate before realizing life-changing gains, moving to states with no income tax. That's not something most people can or should do casually. It's a life decision. But it's one of the most powerful examples of how the wealthy think differently. They don't just plan trades, they plan jurisdictions. Now here's the section most people need to hear because it's the part that applies to almost everyone. What regular Solana holders can actually do. First, don't let activity create accidental taxable events. Solana's speed makes it easy to rack up swaps and microtransactions that are hard to track later. Second, understand the difference between short-term and long-term holding periods before you sell anything significant. Third, if you stake, track rewards from day one. The taxes don't care that it felt small at the time. Fourth, if you're sitting on a huge gain and you're already charitable, talk to a qualified professional about donating appreciated assets instead of selling and donating cash. And finally, don't confuse the rich don't pay taxes with what's actually happening. Most of the time, the wealthy aren't avoiding taxes on Solana. They're avoiding the moment taxes get triggered. They borrow instead of selling. They plan holding periods. They control activity. They structure ownership. They track everything. They think generationally. And that's why it looks like they sell SOL without paying taxes. Not because they found a hidden cheat code, but because they built a system that never forces them to hit sell in the first place. This video is for informational purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, or investment advice. All investments involve a degree of risk, including the risk of loss. Always consult qualified professionals for your personal situation.